Hey, welcome to hell, motherfuckers, or I should say, welcome back to hell. Been very busy, so I'm happy to be back with a new episode. This is episode 23, 7-Inch Madness, Volume 1, Thrash Records. So we are going to focus on Thrash Records, which was a French label that was late 80s, early 90s, released a bunch of legendary stuff. And I started going through my collection and I realized, oh shit, I have the entire discography. So that was pretty cool. And wanted to discuss some of these legendary slabs of death and grind. And there was also, I ended up having a couple of the other labels. There was a sub label called Infest Records that did a couple of 7-inches, and also Putrefaction Records. So now all three of these labels were based out of France, and Infest was a sub-label of Thrash Records, and then Putrefaction, like I said, also a French label. They worked with Thrash Records on a couple two-tree things, and these labels, kind of co-release some stuff. But the bulk of this episode is going to be about Thrash Records because they have the original 15, I like to call it 15, pretty classic 7-inches. But, Infest and Putrefaction had some classic 7-inches too. So we're going to talk about them, about these classic slabs. Like I said, we're going to go through them. Pretty much believe I have them all. So did a little bit of research to make sure. But yeah, as far as I can tell, pretty much got all the discography of all three labels. So I think there's 22. So it's going to be a little bit different today. It's kind of technically a 7-inch stacks episode, but this is a label spotlight, or labels plural, because there's three labels. But like I said, mainly it's Thrash Records we're going to be focusing on because they have the bulk of the madness here. And so it'll be a little bit different. We have a lot to go through, so I want to plow through it. I'll try to cover as much as I can, but we're not going to do a deep dive like with the bios and stuff. In some of the Demo Stacks episodes, I talk about the bands and whatnot. Some of these bands I've already been over, with the Demo Stacks. We talked about them. You're already familiar with them. We're not going to get into that. I'll talk about where they're from, what year they started, what year the 7-inch came out, and that we'll focus on the labels really quickly, talk about them, their formation, who was running it, all that good shit. But also with the Demo Stacks episodes, I usually play like a minute and a half, 2 minutes of a snippet from the recording. For this show, we're just going to do like 30 seconds or so, between 30 and 40 seconds, depending, and just kind of blast through it because we got a lot to go over. So I don't have time to, do the same format that I do with the Demo Stack shows because we'll be here all fucking night. I don't feel like doing a 4 or 5 hour video today, but it's all good. You're pretty much, it's historically bands would, the next progression in their career back in the day would be doing 7-inches. So these bands all had demos out. Everybody's familiar with them. The next step was the 7-inch, as I've been over before. And so we're going to talk about these and doing either my memory or a little research. I found some cool little facts about some of the releases and stuff, some inside stuff that maybe, not everybody knows or whatnot. So this is a monster episode, so it's going to be fucking cool. I know that I kind of got inspired by this with the Thrash Records box sets that have been floating around. I could have sworn I saw like a 7-inch version or something, but that was, I don't remember like seeing much about that. I don't know a lot of, maybe I'm mistaken, maybe I'm thinking, but I did see the CD box set that's been floating around, and some of you that are watching might have ordered that. And it looked really cool. I saw the pictures of it. They look like, they in the layout, they have the original 7-inch images and even some of the insert stuff that they're showing, in the compilation or whatever. But I got inspired since I have these real, the genuine article straight from Pat, who, founded Thrash Records. I'll go over that, and I'll go over how I came across these slabs of death and grind, like I said, and we'll get into it. So without further ado, let's fucking go. All right, so as I've discussed, Thrash Records is going to be our main focus today because they have a bulk of these classic 7-inches, and I'm going to go in order with how they came out. And Thrash Records was started in 1989 in France by Mr. Pat. And Mr. Pat, I knew through my job at Wild Rags Records. I think I've discussed this before, that for those of you that don't know, I used to work at the legendary Wild Rags Records and the infamous Wild Rags Records and all that. And Pat and Richard worked together. So those of you that have been to that store remember the 7-inch section really started growing in the early 90s because there was just a ton of bands doing 7-inches. So little by little, that 7-inch section in the store started getting bigger and bigger. So, but for those of you that don't know, Wild Rags, used to stock all kinds of underground demos and 7-inches and fanzines all across the world. Richard had connections everywhere, through the legendary Wild Rag fanzine itself, which is one of the best ever. And then he transferred the fanzine over to a newsletter later on that went out to thousands and thousands of people. I mean, I used to pack those newsletters with him and send them off to the mailing list, which was endless. So Pat was one of the people that he worked with. Pat would send boxes of 7-inches to the store, and we would have them. And one of my jobs is a lot of times I'd be in the back in the storeroom with the stock. And, UPS, FedEx, or the mailman would show up, or, for Thrash Records, it was obviously international coming from France. So DHL or whatever international carrier at the time would drop off the boxes of stuff. So, I got lucky because I was able to snag everything first. So as I was opening the boxes, like, oh shit, I'll take that. And half the time, my paycheck was just, basically Richard used to yell at me, you're not even making any money. You're putting it back into buying records and demos and stuff. It's like, yeah, pretty much, so you need gas to get to work. So it was pretty funny. But that's how I came across all these that I'm going to talk about today. I think pretty much, I might have gotten a couple from other spots or from friends, maybe from the band, but I don't think so. Like, memory serves me correctly, I think I literally got all the Thrash, Infest, and Putrefaction releases from Wild Rags as they would come. So that's why I have them all. So it was pretty cool, going through the old boxes and the memories of that and whatnot. So yeah, Pat started the label in 89. I don't remember, we'll get into Infest a little bit because I only have a couple of the 2 or 3 to talk about later about the Infest stuff. And I don't know why he started a sub-label, but Infest was started a little bit after Thrash. I think Infest was started in 1991. But yeah, he started Thrash in 1989, and he began with the catalog number THR001. I present to you Exit 13, The Unrequited Love for Chicken Soup. This is a classic 7-inch. I'm trying to avoid the glare here. Didn't have time to take everything out of the sleeves and all that stuff because, like I said, we got a lot to go over. So yeah, this is great. Exit 13 was from Pennsylvania. They were formed in 1989, and this Chicken Soup 7-inch is actually their like third demo, I believe, and Pat just put it directly onto wax, put it out on vinyl, and it's definitely a classic. This band would fit on earache records, like with the old stuff, Accused, Old Lady Drivers, and even like Heresy and Intense Degree, Unseen Terror, the early Napalm stuff. And basically, Exit 13 fits right in with that stuff. And actually, just has a little bit of heavy death metal riffing on here too, but it's mainly grindcore. And let's see, 5 songs, and even one of the songs, Fingernails, has like this cool keyboard MIDI guitar part. I always thought it was fucking cool. So that's kind of like the humor to it. But it's total blazing grindcore. They were from Pennsylvania, different parts of Pennsylvania, and I ended up making friends with the singer Bill, who was like one of the main guys. I think Pat, the drummer, was also a cool guy. I became friends with him too because he started Redstream Distribution, and I think he did a label with that too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I remember writing to Pat. I think Pat moved to Florida at some point and did Redstream. I'm trying to remember all this stuff. I didn't have time to officially look all that up, but yeah, Pat and Bill were awesome. Bill later on, obviously Exit 13 worked with Relapse. Bill helped, he helped start Relapse up with Matt, and I think Matt was in Colorado at the time. But yeah, Exit 13 is all tied in with all that stuff. I was hanging out one time. I ended up at the Foundations Forum, which was like a big old music convention here in Los Angeles. It's more like label stuff, like the NAMM show is instrumentation and recording gear, gear and stuff like that, where Foundations Forum was like corporate labels, and a bunch of musicians, a bunch of people would show up and, hobnob and kiss each other's ass. It was fucking lame, but, Matt and Bill came out one year, and I think I went down there with the Morjon guys and hung out. Went down there another time with the Phobia guys, and Richard used to go there too, and go hang out, drink beers, hobnob with people, whatever, a lot of friends and whatever. So anyways, Matt and Bill started Relapse, and Exit 13 totally changed their sound. I think they did a lounge jazz record with the Bliss from Pain Teens, and I don't know, it wasn't really my thing. A lot of their, some of the weird grindcore stuff, just I didn't get into. This was much more brutal and straightforward in the classic sense, So I think this is the black cover, and I think there was a blue cover that I did used to see around, but I ended up just getting the black ink. So there's 2 versions of this. Again, like, just there isn't any crazy variance with vinyl color or anything like that with most of these. It's just basic black vinyl, and with different pressings, Pat would change the label color. So I'll go over that in a second. Like I said, I don't have time to bust everything out and go inside and all that, just break all that down because we got a lot to cover today. So just gonna focus on the main part here. And then so here's that's the cover of Satan under the chicken soup with the salt and pepper. Yeah, I always thought it was funny. But yeah, like I said, man, it's the grindcore back in the day was really hand in hand with death metal and stuff. And, it was all in the same magazines and the same compilation tapes and the same labels, as you'll see. This kicked off Thrash Records, and obviously Thrash went on to do a bunch of death metal stuff, but this is more grindcore. Back in the day, Exit 13 was in the same fanzines as Blasphemy and Mortician, Immolation, Samael. They were all together. Vader, Nocturnus, Morbid Angel. They were all this stuff was all in the same stuff. Old Lady Drivers. It was all covered in a lot of the same fanzines, whether it was interviews, covering of the demo, ads, reviews. It was pretty much just the underground was the underground. So we were just focused on getting the heavy stuff. So here's the boys, Joe on the blower bass. There's Pat, Steve OD on guitar. Then there's Bill on vocals, quote unquote, because it's all pitch shifted and fucking brutal. So, but yeah, Exit 13 back here, in this era, just fucking awesome. I did, there's another 7-inch they did that I liked, and then they did like a debut album. It was pretty cool, but I think by that time they were kind of branching out a little bit. Wasn't necessarily my thing, but killer stuff. So let's play a quick song. Yeah, brutal stuff. A little humor to it, but brutal as fuck too. So Exit 13, that's the first release on Thrash Records. Good stuff. Also, real quick, that Exit 13 7-inch was released in January 1990. That gives you an idea. So right when Pat got the label going, got the Exit 13 7-inch out pretty quickly. All right, next up is THR 002. This was released in February of 1990, and this is Revenant. Let's try to get this glare off. And this is the Distant Eyes 7-inch. And actually what Pat did sometimes, so we do have a couple, like the Exit 13 is a demo that's on vinyl. And then some of the 7-inches are actually EPs. Some of them are singles. Like if you think about, I don't know if the younger generation's probably not as familiar, but some of you old school heads remember, maybe some of your parents' 45s from back in the day, Elvis and Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Johnny Cash, they would do a single and then they would have a B-side. So the A-side would have their single that they were pushing and the B-side would have a extra track. Sometimes it was another popular song. Sometimes it was just an exclusive, B-side or whatever. And that's what this is actually. This is actually a single. There's 2 songs, Distant Eyes and Degeneration. Both of those are very well known by Revenant. I think might even be both songs might appear on most of the recordings, all the way from the early demos to the Prophecies of a Dying World album. So they were formed all the way back in 1986 in New Jersey, fucking Jersey. And yeah, this is great. We did Revenant on a demo stacks, and I love this band. And great 7-inch. Obviously, these songs rule, and a good addition for Thrash Records for their second 7-inch. Now going from grindcore to death thrash, and Revenant were, like I've stated before, they're just legends, well loved and well respected in the underground. Classic band. And here is the cover. There was actually 3 versions of this cover color. So there was a red ink, the black ink, which is the one that I have, and then there was a blue ink. And I've seen those. You know what? Honestly, I don't remember seeing the red very much. I think I seen it once. I don't even know if it was at Wild Rags. And I seen the blue around, and I almost bought it, just being a total collector nerd even back then, but I didn't. So even though I kind of make fun of that whole stuff sometimes, but mainly the vinyl variants and whatnot. And there's the boys. These are scans from the inserts and stuff. So pardon the low resolution on some of the, my phone camera is not always the best, and I take boomer pictures sometimes. So yeah, some of these photos might be a little bit, you get the idea. They're hanging out in Bergenfield, Jersey, up to no good, ready to death thrash it up later, taking some photos down there by the riverbed, hanging out in the sewer, crushing some beers. And everybody's familiar with Revenant by this time, especially if you've watched my channel. I love the band. Veg and the Boys, classic. And I've said before, this is where I was connected to the East Coast scene, was through John McEntee and Henry Vegian. And I wrote to both of those guys. And then, in turn, John, really, Henry was cool too, but John is the one that was like the underground freak that got me in touch with everybody. Will Romer, Mortician, the Immolation guys, just so on and so forth, the Agoraphobia, and went from there. Ex Mortis, Deceased, just kind of got connected to all those lunatics out there that were creating the awesome death noise, and started writing and getting demos out there. But McEntee and the band Apparition, they were the first East Coast bands that I had started getting in contact with. So, and I think Paul Ledney was in Revenant at one time or another too early on. Obviously, he went on to Profanatica. John went on to Mortician and Incantation. So, yeah, it was fucking, Revenant had some really legendary roots there. Veg kept it going after those guys, went their own way with their bands and whatnot, and Revenant was still killer. So let's play a song real quick.
The fires of this nation penetrate nocturnal years, lessons of the past, incineration of consciousness, sterilizing to a tune that is forsaken. The world burn away. Flesh.
Yeah, great riffing, killer. But yeah, here is one of the singles that Pat put out on Thrash Records. Revenant, Distant Eyes. So this was the first single after the initial Exit 13 demo on vinyl release. And the Revenant 7 inches, and one of my all-time favorites for sure, but a lot of these are. So, all right, moving right along, since like I said, we got a lot to cover. So the next release is THR003, released in March of 1990. And this is the mighty Carbonized. Sorry, I'm trying to get the glare off. No Canonization. Awesome. This is another single. So it's got the title track and 2 songs on side 2. And you're probably familiar with Carbonized. They rule. Swedish, surprise, surprise, right? Back to Sweden as usual. Sweden had so many great bands. But this one, like I said, was out in March 1990. Carbonized was formed in 88 in Sweden. And interesting because it's got Lars from Entombed, later Entombed, and then Maddie Karki sings vocals on this. Maddie made the rounds with a few of the bands. Obviously, Maddie's known for Dismember. It's his main thing, but he's on this beast. And so this was Thrash Records' introduction into the Swedish death metal scene. They were able to grab Carbonized and work with them on this. So that's killer. here is the cover. And there is a little bit color variance here. See, I have the there's a darker black and white cover, which is the one that I have. It's a little darker. The one that I'm showing you here is kind of a lighter version. And then there's a weird blue one with blue labels. I've never seen that one before. But yeah, I kind of have the darker one. That's whatever, Pat had sent over. And like I had said before, let me show you since I'm on carbonized. I'll grab the label differences. So Pat would change up the stickers here and there for different presses. Basically what he would do is he would run like 1,100 of each press, I believe. So the ones that sold really well, he would change it up. So like, there's mine. Gives you an example. And then one of the next presses, he did the blue, but the cover's weird. I didn't find an image of it, but or I didn't save the image. The image that I saw is bizarre. It's just all blue. Looks like some sort of Smurf cover or something. I don't know why he did that. Didn't look very good to me. Whatever. Maybe back in the day somebody bought like one of each variant or something. I have no idea. But that kind of gives you an example of the different labels. So yeah, with each press, if he did another press or whatever, he would change the label color. He wouldn't do a vinyl variant as far as the original Thrash stuff, Thrash Records stuff. So I think that Carbonized got like 2 or 3 presses for sure because it was Swedish death metal, and that just exploded back in the day. So it was definitely a crazy time. And then here's the boys. There's Maddie on the right, Lars second to the left there. And that's the Carbonized guys. So I think most of these guys ended up in, besides Lars and Maddie, obviously the other 3 probably ended up in a bunch of other bands too. I know Chris from Therion was in Carbonized for a bit. And I think Maddie even did other instruments with the band too. So yeah, cool stuff. So let's bust out some Carbonized real quick. Brutal shit. And you can tell that production that was produced by Thomas over at Sunlight Studios. Obviously the same studio that Entombed, Dismembered, Carnage, all the bands recorded at the time. So yeah, this is a fucking classic. Love it. I even made myself a Carbonized hat back in the day. I just took a patch and put it on a basic black hat. It's fucking death metal nerd shit right there. But yeah, Carbonized fucking ruled. And see, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything with this Carbonized. But yeah, that is the 3rd release. No canonization, Carbonized. Okay, moving on to THR 004, the 4th release. And this is the first proper EP that's not a demo or a single, on the traditional 7-inch format. And this was released in June of 1990. Fucking fatal. This is great. A somber evocation of nihilism. All-timer. There was a couple of different cover styles with this. This is a darker one. There was a lighter one that had, it looked much lighter with the image or whatnot. And Pat changed up the labels. So there was a basic black, and then there was a red label. And that's an example of like the different presses that he would do. He mainly just changed the labels, not necessarily the covers, but as we've discussed, there are some different color variant covers as well, with just the ink and whatnot. So yeah, he got different with certain things. So pretty cool, pretty collectible. So there's 2 to 3 versions of some of these. Like I said, I didn't get too crazy and try to collect everything. One or two of each. I think the carbonized even has like 4 versions, and then there's some test presses out there too that got released. But yeah, this is an all-timer. One of my favorite all-time 7-inches, Fatal Rules. They were formed all the way back in 1985 in Michigan, here in the U.S. And this is a 3-song 7-inch EP. Good stuff, good stuff. Here is the darker version cover I was discussing. And then I did a little scan of the image. This is really blurry, but that's a really cool picture, though. Classic, hanging out outside of some decrepit church, possibly, over there in Michigan. And there's the boys, the coroner of death metal, we always used to call them, because they were such great musicians and power trio, so they reminded a lot of us of like Coroner mixed with Morbid Angel. Fucking absolutely killer stuff. So yeah, Pat would, like I said, he would change the vinyl stickers for different colors for the different presses or whatnot. And like I showed you blue, here's a red one. Sometimes he would go green, one of the ones that we'll talk about here shortly. And mainly, though, it was just basic black, And he, for at least the original Thrash Records stuff, he didn't go color vinyl variant. Back then there wasn't really a lot of different vinyl color variants or whatnot. Here and there, it was pretty rare. You might get lucky and get like a red vinyl or something, but that wasn't until like 93, 94 from what I remember. But yeah, for the most part, it was just basic black vinyl. Let's bust out some Fatal real quick.
Ghost vibrations, traveling past the thoughts, windows of fear, feelings destroyed, tearing the skull, visions the twin rip, conversions brain matter, ooh, the city. Fire and torment, used to subside, says my thoughts, in which I lie.
Yeah. Killer solos there. Ripping it up. Fatal, a somber evocation of nihilism. Great 3-song 7-inch in the Thrash Records collection, and the 4th beast unleashed in the catalog. All right. Like I said, we got a lot to cover, so hopefully I'm not moving too fast. If anybody has any questions about any of these, feel free to, throw it up in the comments there. And real quick, I forgot to throw the original Thrash logo up. There it is. So I was going to do that before I started talking about the releases, but I forgot. So that's the logo that everybody's pretty familiar with. And of course, the screaming head is also part of that, but I already showed that at the beginning. So there is the Thrash logo, Pat's label from France. and a big part, of the death metal underground movement. Obviously, these 7 inches are unbelievably classic. That's why they're getting box set re-releases and stuff. So that's, it's pretty insane, the talent that was on this label that Pat was able to put out. I mean, it's up there with Seraphic Decay and Wild Rags and a lot of the other labels that did a lot of these classic 7 inches, which I'll be talking about in the future too. I got a few more label spotlights to do, with some of the stuff I just mentioned too. So, but Thrash is right up there, man. A force to be reckoned with, and totally classic. So the 5th release on Thrash Records, THR 005, released in August of 1990. Sorcery. I'm just going to get my hand off of there and try to, again, I'm trying to avoid the glare and whatnot, but there it is. This is the Rivers of the Dead. Classic stuff. 2-song. Guess this would be a single. So it's just got the title track and then, a second song on the B-side. And this is Swedish again. They were from a different part. They weren't from Stockholm. They were from somewhere else in the country. It's a pretty big country, a lot of different regions. If you've read the Swedish death metal book, you're familiar with all that stuff. So not everybody was from Stockholm. But, some of the bands did move down there at one point or another, but some of them stayed where they were at. And I know Sorcery was from a different part of Sweden. And so another 7-inch single. Sorcery was formed in 1986. So they go back a bit. And here is the cover right here, and then just took a picture of the back. Fucked up picture, but there's the guys hanging out. Looks like maybe the jam room or the back of the club or something, ready to get fucking crazy. Here's a little bit of Sorcery. Let's see, I'm just reading the address here at the back. They're from Sandvikinen. Not familiar. I didn't do any geography for this episode. My apologies. Sorcery. I think they're still around too. They played LA here a few years ago. I wasn't able to check it out. They played the Black Castle. It might have been a long time ago now at this point, but I know they came here. I didn't get a chance to see them, and I don't remember anybody talking about them. If they were any good live or not, but I don't know. This 7-inch is fucking killer. The vocals are a little, not super heavy, but the music is definitely death metal. And I seen that 7-inch a lot. So I think there wasn't any extra variant, second press information that I can find online, but I used to see that fucking 7-inch everywhere. So maybe it just didn't sell as much and it was just around a lot more because that, they were kind of a cult band, a little bit more unknown, had been around for a bit. And then, they weren't as known as some of the other, Swedish bands, obviously, for whatever reason. Not everybody could be nihilist and entombed and grave, but Sorcery was fucking killer. So Rivers of the Dead, the 5th release on Thrash Records. All right, moving right along, we are going to talk about THR 006, released in August of 1990. And, hey, these dates might be a little loose, so maybe some of you might know the exact release dates. Not that it really fucking matters at the end of the day, right? But Hideous Mangalus. And this is where Pat got a little cool with the color. So this is green. Got some green labels on the vinyl too. And then this is the back cover. Again, I'm trying to avoid the glare. Sorry. But this is great. So much like Exit 13, Hideous Mangalus had a punk grind feel, but more straightforward, almost like grindcore Misfits. I remember when they came out, we all loved them. The Extinction of God compound, we played their stuff all the time. I believe we were in contact with Sam. But years later, I met Sam, and we're friends. He's a really good guy. And total maniac, underground sicko, still at it. I think he performs under the Sam Biles name, but it has the Hideous Mangalus, logo kind of font design or whatever. And totally fucking killer. Does a bunch of Hideous Mangalus songs with his friends and totally fucking crazy. Lots of fun. But they were, total killer grindcore band. Formed in 1989 in Pennsylvania. And this is actually a 5-song EP. So it's a traditional EP. And apparently when I was looking up, apparently the covers weren't like 100% ready with the initial press. So there was about 100 out there that got out with just like a generic, almost like a test press type cover. I've never seen that. I didn't get one, unfortunately. That would have been kind of cool because, the limited edition, 100 of those got out there. But I just got the green cover, the one that came after. That's what we got at, Wild Rags. And I thought it was interesting, too, looking up some research on this release, is Bob McCutcheon is a legendary producer in the Pittsburgh area of Pennsylvania, and he worked on this recording. And he also worked with Derketa, Ratravor, and the doom bands Pendants and Revelation, who were both, I believe, on Lee Dorian's label, Rise Above, at one point. Or at least I know Revelation was. Pendants was fucking awesome, too. Those are the band that after Dream Death ended, they did Pendants, or they changed their name, I forget. But Pendants was fucking badass, too. I love that. Obviously, Dream Death ruled that album, The Journey into Mystery. But anyways, Bob McCutcheon worked on this. I thought that was pretty cool. Little fun fact to share. Here is the classic cover. I don't know. I'd probably look like a weirdo, but that'd be cool to have this shirt and a green shirt, Classic Nosferatu design. And then scan the insert here. Here's the boys. Yeah, Sammy looks a little bit different up now, up there in the top left. He's got blonde hair and he's lifting a lot of weights, man. He's a big dude. So I don't know. I don't think the other guys are in the projects that he does these days with, the Sam Biles stuff or whatever. But killer stuff, man. Killer stuff. Let's play a little bit real quick. If you're unfamiliar, check it out. Killer. You got to love that bass sound too. Like I said, punked out grindcore, some good death metal influences. And, like I said, it's almost like a death grind Misfits. A lot of good energy. I remember like one of the interviews, I talked about Dying Terror fanzine over there on the East Coast. And they interviewed Sam on there. And I remember him calling it, "This is kill your mom music." So, and I mean, the demo was called "All Your Friends Are Dead," so it was just really cool, man. A lot of the imagery and the artwork and stuff like that was horror movie themed, but it was, like I said, it just always had like a kind of a Misfits feel to everything, which is fucking awesome because we all love the Misfits. At least, I did. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but the original Misfits were fucking so awesome. And, Hideous Mangalus had that kind of similar energy to them with their music, just like I said, like a death grind version, high on corpse fumes version of the Misfits. So, one of my favorites, but aren't they all right? Hideous Mangalus. We live, you sleep. Almost forgot that. We live, you sleep. Don't forget that. All right, next up, released in December of 1990, THR 007, Malediction, System Fear. This has a big glare to it. The genuine article, as they say. Formed in 1990 in the United Kingdom. This is actually a 3-song EP by Malediction. Heavy stuff, just kind of an underappreciated band as far as I'm concerned. I always thought they were badass. Got their demos, and I love this 7-inch. I don't think they're talked about enough. I mean, there's so many killer bands in England back then, so I get it. You kind of get lost in the shuffle. Some of these bands do get lost in the explosion. Just like the Swedish, the UK, the Eastern Seaboard of the United States. I guess it's easy to get lost in the shuffle sometimes, but that's what these slabs of death are for. To remember them. And here is the cover. Brutal stuff. Heavy English death metal. Here are the guys. Just the cover, the back cover band photo. Hanging out there. Maybe the outskirts of London. Fucking being creeps. Ready to death metal it up. But yeah, this was, if you like the benediction stuff and even the typical English stuff, the early Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride, they fit right in with that. The bolt thrower, you can tell they probably get together, so they were all feeding off each other or whatever, just like that's how the organic scenes work, stepping up the game, when you have those bands that I mentioned kicking some ass. So Malediction was out there fucking killing it too. Let's bust out some Malediction really quick. Check it out. Yeah, there's that bolt thrower breakdown right there. Getting heavy. I thought Pat was, going through these, I thought Pat was very smart with, he was all over the map of the world, working with all these different bands from all over. I mean, United States is huge, so he was, obviously a lot of East Coast bands because that scene was crazy. But he's got a wide variety spreading out to Sweden and England. So he was branching out, trying to pick up the best bands, possible for some of these. I mean, this is some legendary shit, man. So Malediction definitely fits in with the madness. Fucking all-timer. Number 7 in the Thrash Records discography. All right, moving right along. We're doing pretty good time-wise. Like I said, I don't mean to blast through these too fast, but, like I said, we got a lot to cover, and I don't have all the time in the world, unfortunately, but hopefully you're enjoying this. And as I said before, if you have any questions about any of these, hit the comments and let me know, and I'd be more than happy to answer. Next up, THR 008, released in January of 1991. Vital Remains, The Black Mass. There were 2 cover variants of this. This is kind of the grayish one. There was another one. I think the original press was white. I'm not, again, I not 100% on what was what first and this and that. And like I said earlier, Pat changed the labels and whatnot. But he did do some different color cover variants here and there as well. So I got the gray one. It was interesting too. I could have sworn that I had both, and I only ended up with both. Like I said, I wasn't like that insane of a collector. I wish I could have gotten every single variant possible and this and that, but I never really been like that. And but I thought I had 2 copies of the Vital Remains 7-inch just because I got the white one in a trade. Maybe I ended up trading that one away later. Who knows? A lot of crazy nights leading into crazy days sometimes too when you don't sleep. Anyways, Vital Remains, 2-song 7-inch EP, and got the 2 different cover variants, like I said. And yeah, this is a killer one. Great band. I did them on one of the earlier Demo Stacks episode with the Excruciating Pain demo, I believe. But yeah, I got the Reduced Ashes, Excruciating Pain demo, and then this bad boy right here. Killer shit. Here is the grayish cover. And then here is the back cover photo. Fucking Jeff rocking the shorts. At least he's got a Blasphemy shirt on. I don't know. You don't really see very many like brutal death metal, black metal singers wearing shorts. So especially Rhode Island. So yeah, Vital Remains was formed in 1988 in Rhode Island, by the way. So I wanted to touch on that. It's cold as fuck up there, man. So Jeff's a warrior apparently. But yeah, Vital Remains is killer. Killer band. Let's blast some real quick while we're talking about them. Here's some of the Black Mass. Totally brutal. Yeah, I love Vital Remains. I love that old stuff. But the Black Mass, this is definitely one of the more in-demand 7-inches of the Thrash Records catalog, from what I understand, too, because, they kind of blew up for a little bit, especially when Glenn Benton was singing for them. But I prefer the Jeff version. Yeah, they're not bad these days. I seen them live a couple times. I think Gravehill played with them at one of the festivals, or maybe 2 of them. Murder Fest, Maryland Death Fest, one of them. And they were good. I think my old band Self Inflicted also played with Deicide and Vital Remains, and Glenn sang for Vital Remains that night. Like he had the armor on like he used to wear with Amon. It was pretty cool. They sounded good. I think Tony is the only original member left, but the Black Mass 7-inch, totally classic in the Thrash Records catalog. All right. Before we get into the next release too, I almost forgot. So here's a couple of examples of the sticker color changes I was talking about earlier. I forgot to put this with the Hideous Mangulus, but that's a green cover with that one, and there's a green sticker. And then going back to the Revenant, there's the blue that went with the blue cover. So that gives you an example of the different stickers that Pat did for different releases. All right, so moving along to the next release. It is the 9th release, THR 009. Trying to read my own notes here. Yeah, this was also released in January of 91, apparently. Afflicted, Ingrained. Wearing my Afflicted Convulsion shirt, because that's what this band originally was, Afflicted Convulsion. Killer Swedish band. The Beyond Redemption demo. Yeah, that's the way to go. But this is a cool 7-inch. Different, they had that one psychedelic grindcore demo, and they had that sound for sure. They were formed in Sweden, obviously, 1988, and in 1990 they changed their name just to Afflicted. I don't know why. This was the 9th 7-inch. The catalog numbers skip after this one because that's when Pat started doing full lengths. So he did 5 full-length albums, which I'm going to do a show on those too, because I got all those. Legendary stuff, obviously. You can look it up. We won't talk about that here because I want to cover it on a different show. So that's for the future, though. Today we were talking about the 7 inches. So this is the last of the original 9 in the catalog, the first 9, and it ended with the Afflicted 7-inch. So here is that cover. And this was also recorded by Thomas at Sunlight Studios, the legendary place in Sweden that everybody was recording at after, obviously, especially when Left Hand Path blew up. I mean, bands were recording there prior to that, but that really set everything in motion. And then here are the boys. This is the back cover picture. Legendary dudes in the Swedish scene. From what I understand, they were maniacs too, jumping off roofs and getting wasted in the cemeteries. And, you read that Swedish death metal book, these guys were the craziest. They were always breaking into buildings and doing crazy shit, crazy kids. And then they would get together and play some psychedelic grindcore death metal. Really good stuff. Let's play a little bit of it real quick. Classic stuff. They're a good band. They kind of get forgotten. They ended up doing some stuff with Relapse Records, and very cool. But they are part of that initial wave. And I love the Inflicted Convulsion stuff too. So they did another 7-inch. I have another 7-inch from this band. The Relapse one, and then I believe they did the album. And it started getting a little different. Wasn't necessarily my cup of blood, so to speak. So I'm not really sure whatever happened to them after that. I don't think they're active anymore. Not really sure if any of the guys are in any of the bands either. I didn't really look that up, but the Afflicted and Grain 7-inch here on Thrash Records is killer. All right, we're going to move on to the next one, but real quick. So around this time, after the Afflicted 7-inch, there was a little bit of break in the 7-inches because Pat started putting out those legendary albums. So the next box that we got from Pat was those full-length albums, and that was killer too, being able to get copies of those. And again, got those full lengths at Wild Rags and was able to grab those, as I said before, the genuine article. And then the next 7-inch release in June of 91, THR 012. So this is the 12th release, and it is Old Funeral. And this one made the rounds because Varg obviously was in the group, and actually so was my buddy Harold from Immortal, and Abath too from Immortal. At one time or another, those guys were in Old Funeral as well. It's like everybody in Norway was in this band. That was when everybody was still doing death metal before the for the black metal explosion. And but this is cool. I have a Norwegian death metal demo stack special that I'm going to be doing in the near future. I realized, oh shit, I got some Norwegian death metal that I think is kind of underrated, and there's some killer stuff there. So I wanted to cover that. Old Funerals on there, and a lot of the people involved in Norway that later went on to become, obviously black metal superstars, were in death metal bands back in the day as well. So that being said, this is a 3-song EP, and Old Funeral was formed in Norway in 1988. That's when the original lineup started up. And yeah, and I mean, one time or another, like I said, both of the main Immortal guys were in the band. Varg was in the band, and they decided to obviously get more into black metal. Apparently, Euronymous got Abath into black metal, and then Abath got Varg into black metal or something like that. I don't know. Who knows? But it's just, that's the cycle. You got your friends that show you good stuff, and you move on from it. They wanted to create their own movement, but I dig the Old Funeral stuff. There's the cover. Devoured Carcass. And like I said, this is a 3-song EP. There's the guys. There's Varg back there. Does he have his fucking Scorpions fucking patch on his vest? Everyone's going to start making fun of him. Wasn't that, I forget. That movie was retarded, but it's pretty funny. But there they are in the basement. Maybe Euronymous has him down there, scoping out where he wants to put the record store. But here's some Old Funeral real quick while we're at it. Check it out. All right, that's killer. There was some stuff in the Swedish death metal book that I don't agree with. Where the author stated that the Norwegians were inferior and they didn't create good death metal, so they had to create their own thing with the black metal stuff. And I don't necessarily agree. This fucking Old Funeral 7-inch is fucking badass. I mean, it's just evil death metal. Norway just had a different sound, and I guess there just wasn't as much of an explosion. And for whatever reason, I think they were really fed up with how Swedish death metal got really mainstream, and I'm trying to go back to that. I've talked about it before, as far as the death metal and the black metal rivalry and all that stuff at first. Now it's like no one gives a fuck. Everyone's all fucking friends and shit and supporting each other. But yeah, back then it was pretty crazy. But I don't know. I like Norwegian death metal. Obviously, there's not as many death metal bands from Norway as there is Sweden and Finland, and especially the quality. I agree on that in a sense, but it's just it depends on how you look at it. I think there's plenty of killer bands historically that played death metal that were from Norway, and a good handful of them. But I guess I do agree that the number is not as much, but it's cool because there's some fucking amazing black metal that came out of the whole thing. So you look at it that way, that's a good thing. And some of these Norwegian black metal bands are still kicking ass to this day. But yeah, this definitely a classic of not only Norwegian death metal, but just a great addition to the Thrash Records discography. Old Funeral, Devoured Carcass, one of my favorites. All right, next up, we are going to talk about the next release, THR 014, the 14th release, obviously. June of 91, this came out. Bathum, Demonic Force, cool red cover. Classic stuff. Sorry, again, I'm trying to get the glare off. But this is a single. So it's got the title track and then another song on side B, on the B side. Bathum was formed in 1989 in Pennsylvania. And we loved them at the EOG compound. We actually had them on a compilation or two. And I believe we used to write to Paul. I met Paul years later when I was in Gravehill. Good guy. And Jim Strauss, killer dude. Jim's in Sathanas. And that's Sathanas and Bathum are basically the same band. That's just a changed name, I believe. Not sure 100% why, whatnot. But, at first we got familiar. We had the Sathanas demo, and then the Bathum stuff came out, and then they went to Sathanas again, I believe. I think that's how it worked. And, apologize if I'm wrong on that one. But either way, both bands are fucking killer. Sathanas is still at it. Very underrated as far as I'm concerned. Killer band. But yeah, Paul's been a maniac for years. Much respect. And Jim's a great dude. He's the drummer. I don't think Jim goes back to the Bathum days, but he's been around quite a bit in the Pennsylvania metal scene. Here is the cover. And then here is a cool picture of the dudes jamming out. I don't know if that's like an outdoor show. Maybe they practice in the backyard. Not 100% sure, but they're jamming out. And there's Paul, New Brighton, Pennsylvania. That's who we used to write to, Mr. Paul Tucker. And yeah, Bathum fucking rules. Total, 80s death metal. It kind of had some thrashiness, some black metalish stuff to it. Just evil and dark and just possessed. Really, really killer. Just old 80s style death metal, and that's pretty much, to me, that's what Sathanas sounds like as well. Just a continuation. Let's check it out real quick. Killer stuff, man. Hell yeah. If you haven't heard Batham before, that's gives you an idea. Go look them up. I know that they're definitely one of the more cult bands that were on Thrash Records. I don't really see this one a lot, so I don't know what the total press. Like I said, I think Pat did 1,100 of each press. But then again, like when I was doing the research and stuff, that might have been split. You know, with the first press maybe being 500, maybe the second press being 6 or so. I don't know. I don't know if he did 1,100 of each press back then. I mean, you know, with the death metal booming at this time, and everybody going crazy in the underground, maybe he did do. That's quite a bit, you know, for underground bands, especially for your, you know, if you're lucky enough to get a 7-inch back then, you know, totally fucking amazing. But yeah, Batham fucking rules. Respect to Paul and the boys. Still at it. Great dude, great band. And fucking Batham rules. Perfect addition to the Thrash Records history. And one of the coolest things that I own, you know, the cool thing about Hideous Mangalus and Batham is that, hey, they're both from Pennsylvania too. What do you know? But it's cool just because it's back then there wasn't a lot of color covers, you know. So red and green, that's really cool to have that. I always those two stood out to me in the collection because, you know, the rest of them are just kind of basic black and white. A few exceptions here and there, but you know, it's really cool. So I always thought they looked really cool like that. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there were some color covers back then, but it was mostly black and white back in the day, you know. The color ones always were pretty cool, though. At the end of the day, who gives a fuck, right? You just put the music on, but still, you know, it's cool, man. Having some interesting, different color covers, you know, pretty fucking badass. Okay, next up is THR-016. So the 16th release, released in September of 1991. This is Occult. Look at that picture. There we go. And can never pronounce this name. Intersin Canale. There's the back. So these guys are from France. Try to get that glare off. So obviously Pat was working with some hometown buddies with this, and I had forgotten about Occult until I started going through these things. And they were formed in 1991 in France. This is a 3-song EP 7-inch. Very good, too. Not sure if I have any of their demos. This band might have been one of the bands that just kind of flew under the radar, you know, for me and my crew. I don't even remember hearing much about them. I mean, fuck, for all I know, I might have a demo or two of theirs, but just doesn't ring a bell. I'm still digging through all that stuff too. But yeah, this is good stuff. Really good French death metal. And had to give it a spin when I was looking at it going, who the hell is this? Pretty cool. There's the cover. Obviously, that looks like our old friend Jesus that everybody likes to rag on in death metal and black metal. And then here's the boys. Here's the back cover. Hanging out, maybe by the Eiffel Tower, maybe not, maybe by the countryside, who knows. But let's play a little bit of Occult. Killer stuff. Check it out. Yeah, I was cracking up. Some of those growls, like that first change up growl, sounds like he's taking a shit, man. Fucking brutal. But yeah, very American influence sounding, you know. But I dig it. I was listening to it. This is fucking cool, man. Definitely not one of the more known thrash records, 7 inches. It was actually kind of a surprise going through these at first. Before I, did the research and the catalog numbers and all that and what year everything came out, I went through them and I was like, oh, looking at the back, Thrash Records. Okay, because at first I didn't even recognize it. I thought it might have been some weird Seraphic Decay compilation or something, because I think the CD comp kind of looked like that same type of cover from what I remember. But I'll look into that later. But yeah, Colt, man, from France. That was I think we have one more of the original straight Thrash Records releases on 7-inch. And that 7-inch would be Psycho. Classic stuff. Mass Consumption. Got the Ed Gein cover there. I remember seeing these shirts around. And this is Charlie Infection and Johnny X and the original bass player Mike. But Charlie and Johnny are still at it. Charlie rules. A good pal of mine. Put out the Ruin Violation Wound 7-inch on Fudgeworthy, which is his current label. Charlie's been around forever. This band is so legendary. So first, this 7-inch is January of 1992. So this is the last of the Thrash Records by itself releases. Pat did a couple more things that I'll talk about, obviously, but they were hooked up with the other labels. They were co-releases. And so this was the last of the original 7-inches standalone, just on Thrash Records. He was putting out full lengths, like I said, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, he did this Psycho. Psycho, they're from Massachusetts, and they were actually formed all the way back in 1981, man. That's just crazy. When I was doing research, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that they had been around, since 81. What fucking legend boss motherfuckers these guys are, man. Much respect to Charlie and Johnny for still doing it. So fucking cool. This is a 7-song EP. So it's punked out, grindy, thrashy, gutter punk fucking goodness. A lot of fun, a lot of humor and talking shit. Because these guys were G.G. Allen's backing band at one point during recording and probably some shows. And here they are hanging out in front of some sort of church or something. Crazy fuckers. There's Johnny in the middle and my guy Charlie on the right. Johnny's cool too. They played Psycho, played L.A. number of years ago, and we get to hang out with the guys for a bit. I had obviously already knew Charlie from, because, he did Infection distribution too. So I believe Bart and I were in contact with Charlie back in the days for the distribution and stuff, because he just ran one of the best distros around. Legendary stuff. He always had everything. Bunch of fucking crazy punk rock and hardcore shit too that kind of flew under our radar because we were death metal guys and grindcore guys. But let's play some of this real quick. Kind of similar to, Exit 13 and Hideous Manglus. I think Psycho would have fit well on Earache Records, that old stuff. The early catalog, 1 through 5 and 6 and stuff like that. I mean, they started getting serious and heavy duty with Napalm Death and Carcass. But, this Psycho would have fit right in with Hideous Manglus and Exit 13 as far as I'm concerned. Real similar. So that's cool. Pat was into stuff like this, But like I said, this stuff was hand in hand with the Death Metal Underground. It was all pretty much in that same pot, threw it all in there like fucking Death Metal gumbo. the grindcore and even some of the hardcore bands. And a band like Psycho fit right in, and they're just as crazy. And much, like I said, much respect to those guys. So classic shit. All right, that concludes the original Thrash Records releases. So now we're going to get into the Putrefaction part of the show. So we're moving right along, doing good on time. Like I said, I apologize if I blasted through these a little too fast, but I wanted to make sure that we be able to cover this entire discography, this entire collection, because the way my brain operates is like when I think of something and I arrange it in my head, I become obsessed with doing it that way. I don't know if anybody else works that way, but that's just how I do it. You know, it's almost like, all right, and then I put an outline down on paper, write it all out, and I just have to follow it that way. And then I was just like, I don't want to have to split this show up. We can really easily just do everything, because I'm going to be busy again for the next couple of weeks. You know, the holidays are coming up, Thanksgiving, I have family in town and stuff like that. So this video, I wanted to make a monster video show with everything on it because I had time today and this evening. So fuck it, right? So without further ado, let's get into the Putrefaction portion. Let's fucking go again. Yeah. AGX forever, baby. I want that Putrefaction logo face as a shirt. That'd be cool. All right. Mortem, Slow Death, legendary stuff. Legendary. I know I keep saying that, but this is just phenomenal. Messy ass DIY back cover. This actually, so the Mortem Slow Death goes back to an earlier thing, but you know, Pat worked with Putrefaction Records on this. So Putrefaction was one of the guys from the thrash band Nobed from France. He started the label Putrefaction, and this catalog number is TPU 001. And this is actually the 1989 demo that is put onto wax. And it's the, this came out in 90, the 7-inch. So the demo, the Slow Death demo by Mortem, came out in 89. Got that. You know, again, I'll talk about that in a future show. But the 7-inch version on Thrash and Putrefaction. Thrash and Putrefaction. See? Killer stuff. This is, let's see, 6 songs. Yeah, I'm just trying to look at the back here, but I got my notes too, so I'm getting confused. Yeah, 6 songs on this beast. Fucking killer. Totally killer. Mortem was formed in Norway in 1987. And apparently this recording was produced by Euronymous. And I don't remember that, you know. Obviously, I talked to Euronymous. He was a friend of mine and a good pen pal for a number of years. Even used to talk to him on the phone, too. He was one of those dudes that I got pretty tight with for a while until he got busy, you know, making the black metal scene and burning churches and all that shit. And then, unfortunately, getting stabbed to death later by his asshole friend. But prior to that, you know, he was doing crazy stuff like this and involved in the Norwegian scene and doing some death metal stuff. So this also has Hellhammer on drums, which he's a great drummer, legendary figure in the Norwegian black metal scene, but he was doing some death metal stuff too. So he must have been pretty young, man, because he always looked like he was one of the younger cats out there. Hellhammer's been all over the place. Obviously, that name, when you associate Norwegian black metal, I mean, he's the drummer pretty much everybody thinks of, I'm sure. So, but he kicked ass on here. Yeah, this survived a flood at one of my apartments. I had a box of stuff, just random albums and 7 inches that I had. I don't know what the hell I was doing at that time. I think we had like a party and I just picked some random stuff to play. Ended up in this box in the hallway, and I forget exactly what happened, but there was some water flooding going on in the hallway there, and some of this. So this cover's a little wonky, but it survived. I was able to grab it, dry up the vinyl. That was the most important thing. Clean it up because the waterlogged stuff, once it dried or whatever, it's got that weird crust on there. So I was able to clean the vinyl off. Being a vinyl junkie, and even back, the cassette tapes, when they'd come undone, I learned how to fix them with a pencil and shit like that. Maybe I'll do a show talking about that. That is pretty funny. But yeah, we had to take care of our shit, so, but you can't really stop a flood sometimes, it happens at weird times. And I got lucky. All my stuff survived, even though like Septic Death LP, the Terrorizer World Downfall, Pungent Stench, For God Your Soul. The covers are a little waterlogged, but it's all good. The vinyl ended up being okay. A little bit of water stains and waterlogged stains at the bottom, but not the end of the world. It's a bummer when I break it out. I look and oh well, it still plays. And here is the cover. Still plays, still sounds good. That's all that matters. So that little image looks a lot better than my cover, but it's all good. There was a cool ad. I couldn't find a band photo. There were all kinds of people in and out of the band. Yeah, because Mr. Johansson played guitars and bass on this. And Marcus Vold was the singer, and then Hellhammer the drummer. So there's only 3 on this recording, and then Euronymous recorded it, as I said. But this was a cool ad. So like I said, we're going backwards to the Mortem because the Exit 13 was part of this ad too. That goes to show you like Mortem is this like really brutal Black Death band, and Exit 13 is kind of a grind, it is a grind band with some humor to it. They got a song called Fingernails, talking about chicken soup. So it shows you how the scene was back then. You know what I mean? It was a little different. Everything was together. Like I said, you open up a fanzine, got an interview with Black Winds from Blasphemy on one page, and then you turn the page and there's an interview with Heresy from England, which is like total speedcore, hardcore punk, and then the next page, there's an interview with Immolation, they're talking to Ross, whatever. So really cool stuff all over the place. Thrash Records is a good representation of what was going on in the scene back then. There's a good mix, different countries, different styles, and Mortem is a good part of that. So let's check them out. This is some heavy duty shit right here. Killer stuff. Fucking those vocals are fucking brutal. But I mean, that's an interesting sound, for that time too. But yeah, this is a cult classic release, the demo and the 7-inch version. Fucking heavy duty stuff. Really glad that it didn't flood and totally get ruined. Covered, like I said, it's a little wonky, but it's all good. I don't mind it at all. when you don't plan on, it's not like I'm, trying to sell your baseball cards or something, and some asshole's like, oh, there's a little bend in the Barry Bonds rookie card, or it's not mint. It's like I'm not planning on getting rid of this stuff anytime soon, unless I develop a crack addiction, or you get in trouble with the IRS and it's either prison or pay your, shit like that. You lose your job and fucking shit happens. I've definitely gotten rid of some stuff in the past when, hey, money gets tight sometimes. It's all good. Does not make you a poser at all. And I've sold some shit. Trust me. I've gotten rid of stuff. I've traded some stuff that I regret, but my fucking Mortem 7-inch survived a flood, and it survived, all kinds of other shit too. So had it a very long time. And we are going to continue with the Putrefaction stuff now, because there's a handful of those real quick. Okay, the next release on the Putrefaction Records, the catalog number is PUT 002. Radiation Sickness, Bounds of Reality, fucking classic. Good thrashy, hardcore, grindcore rager. Another band that would fit right on the Earache Records roster back in the day with Exit 13, Psycho, Hideous Mangalus. If you like those bands, you'll like Radiation Sickness. Very, very similar. Doug Palmer is a great dude, friend of mine. Gravehill was lucky enough to play with the reunited Radiation Sickness at the Day of Death back in 2012 in Buffalo. Rest in peace, Brian Pattison, my brother, passed away, unfortunately, over the pandemic. And he did the Chainsaw Abortions fanzine and did the Day of Death Festival, too, the legendary. Everyone's seen that fucking flyer. It's totally legendary. And I, did a tribute to Brian on one of my radio shows on the channel here months ago. But yeah, Radiation Sickness is fucking badass. They were formed in Indiana in 1987. And this 7-inch came out on Putrefaction Records in 1990. It's 6 songs of good thrashy grindcore. And I found it was really hard to find a link for this 7-inch, unfortunately, but they did a compilation. So that's the image that you're going to see. I'm playing this here. Let me play this real quick. Yeah, good, punky, thrashy, hardcore, influence grind, fun shit, fucking killer. They were great up there, Day of Death too, fucking raging. But yeah, I always dug this band. Like I said, they fit right in with that Earache Records catalog back in the day with The Accused and Old Lady Drivers and Intense Degree, classic shit. Here is the cover. Bounds of Reality. Fucking killer. Very simple, fucked up drawing, but fits, And here is a scan of the back cover. Dark as fuck. Again, I apologize, but there's the guys hanging out on top of the car. Can't even see all of them, but they're there. Hanging out in Indiana on the outskirts of Indianapolis, ready to rage. Killer stuff. So yeah, this was a early Putrefaction Records 7-inch. Killer. Radiation Sickness fucking rules. Check out their compilation stuff that's on YouTube if you want to get more familiar with them, if you liked what you heard. All right, next up is PUT 003, so the third Putrefaction release. Brain Implosion, Sand Grains. Good shit, good shit. This is cool. Not necessarily up my alley. I grabbed it back in the day anyways. It's thrashy, you know, it's good thrash metal. Obviously, by that time, I was kind of moving on to heavier and faster and crazier shit, you know. I mean, I still, don't get me wrong, I still love the 80s thrash stuff, still listen to it, you know, just depends on what it is. But Brain Implosion was formed in 1987 in the Netherlands. This 7-inch on Putrefaction was put out in 1990, and it's a 2-song single. So it's got the title track and, you know, the classic, what I was talking about earlier, the classic B-side track on side 2 on the flip. So good stuff, good stuff. If you like, you know, good thrash metal. I mean, it's fast. There's the cover. Maybe the dude going through the desert looking for, hopefully that's not a mirage ahead with the water. Oh, I need water. And then here's the dudes. These look like typical thrashers, you know. Got the hair, got the leather. Dude in the middle's got the fucking white pants. Hanging out in an alley in the Netherlands somewhere. And ready to fucking thrash it up. But yeah, this is, like I said, this isn't one of my favorite releases of this group, obviously. But check it out. Get ready to thrash it up. Yeah, good stuff. If you like thrash, you know, I mean, I get down with some thrash still, you know. I'm sure these guys fucking raged it up live. You know, at a certain point at the Netherlands just got really fucking heavy duty. So I'm sure this band got lost in the shuffle by this time because, you know, when this came out, there was a lot of fucking heavy ass death metal going on over there. So I don't know if they played some of those shows or not. I don't know if they'd fit very well on there, but hey, man, Brain Implosion's cool. I'm happy to have this. You know, like I said, I have the entire fucking catalog. So what are you going to do? It's not my favorite. There's a couple on here. You know, I wouldn't call it a clunker, but it's definitely down on the list of the quality of the classics. All right, so this next one is not only, I mean, it's one of my all-time favorite split releases, but it's basically one of my all-time favorite releases in general because both bands fucking absolutely kill. It's the Agothicles, Morally Wrong, VNA, Grind Till Deafness, one of the greatest slabs of violence you're ever going to hear. And I know everyone makes fun of Agothicles' discography, but actually this is my all-time favorite material, the demo and this specific release. It's only 3 songs of Agothicles, but it's perfection to me. This split is just totally perfect because VNA is no slouch either, you know. So obviously Agothicles don't really need an introduction. I'm sure most of you maniacs know who they are. Formed in 87 in Belgium. And VNA was formed in 88 in France. Violent Noise Attack, by the way. That's what it stands for. And VNA actually is Pat from Thrash Records and some of the guys from Nomad from France, the band, the thrash band, you know, crossover hardcore band Nomad that formed Putrefaction. So they did VNA as their grind noise project. So obviously Agothicles was they've always done a ton of releases, and they got together and put this fucking beast out. So, fuck yeah, man. Here is the, like I said, I can't rave about this release enough. There's the classic Agathocles side and the VNA side. Violent Noise Attack from France. Has some cool scan of the insert there. Total DIY fucking just let's fucking get some cool pictures and type out some lyrics and dank list and throw it up with the great logo. All-time classic. The pumpkin skull Agathocles logo. Fucking all-timer. And then here's the VNA other side of the insert here. Very similar. Just some pictures of the dudes. Fucking Pat and the boys. Ready to noise it up. And I don't even think there's lyrics. They got a bunch of songs on there. I don't think there's lyrics. There's 14 VNA songs on here, just quick. I mean, if you like Sore Throat and, you know, the really short Napalm Death stuff, you know, it's that classic fucking grindcore. Let's check it out, though. Play some shit. Enough of my yapping. This is just unbelievably fucking crushing classic. Fuck yeah. Sorry, I forgot to take myself off the screen during the AGX stuff. But I can't rave. Like I said, I can't rave about this fucker enough. You know, all-timer. Unbelievable. Love it. Putrefaction fucking killed it on that one. So good job, boys. Oh, yeah, and before I forget, too, real quick, the Agathocles VNA split was put out in February of 1990. So, again, all-timer. And then here is another all-timer. They were fucking... Putrefaction was just fucking killing it at this point. Fucking Order from Chaos. Will to Power. Unbelievable. I love this fucking 7-inch. Obviously, Richard loved this fucking band. So when he was, you know, they were available, you know, to work with, he was definitely doing a lot of stuff with them, re-releasing demos, and then, you know, doing Stillbirth Machine. And I think he did another 7-inch with them on Wild Rags. I have to look that up for the Wild Rags 7-inch episode, but now we're focusing on Putrefaction. And let's see. This is PUT005, Put 5. So it's the 5th official release of Putrefaction Records. And this came out in July of 1990. 3-song EP. And Order from Chaos goes all the way back to 1987 in Missouri when they first started. Obviously, they need no introduction in the death metal and black metal scene. They kind of straddle the line in between. And obviously with the work that they do now, Chuck and Mike and Aries Kingdom, and, you know, Pete and Angel Corpse and Revenge and a bunch of other crazy bands that he's been, you know, putting out ever since. These guys are legends in the underground. Much respect to them. And but the Order from Chaos is still my favorite out of all the projects. Just it's the OG stuff, you know. And yeah, this 7-inch is fucking amazing. Here is the cover. Will to Power. Really fucking cool, weird artwork. It's always very unique, you know. Unique logo, unique sound, unique artwork with their stuff. Just fucking killer. There's the boys hanging out in Missouri. Fucking ready to get crazy. Let's play some of this real quick. Legendary, crushing shit. Awesome. Legendary is another one. Fucking one of my favorites. Aren't they all? Like I was joking before, but seriously, this one just it's up there with the Agathocles VNA and some of the original first handful of the Thrash Records releases. And you know, Putrefaction was killing it too. These French metalheads were really doing well with their underground stuff. You know, they knew who to grab and who to work with. It was fucking impressive, you know. So let's get into the last Putrefaction release. All right, this is the last Putrefaction 7-inch, and then we'll have a couple 2-3 of the Infest Records 7-inches, and then we're going to be coming to the end of the show. We're doing pretty good on time. I figured it'd take a couple hours. Hopefully, I was crossing my fingers. That's all I have today. So again, apologize if I blast through this. Apologize for some of my photography, but you know, this was a beast of an episode to put together. It took me a really long time to piece everything together and do the research and photos and downloading and making this and that and da da da, and then of course listening to it. And so this is PUT-006, Put6, Arcturus, My Angel. This one is different. It's not, you know, it's good. It's cool. It's one of those, oh, you got to be in the mood for it type releases. So this was out in July of 1991. It's a 2-song single. So it's got the title track, My Angel, and B-side song. Arcturus was formed in Norway in 1990, and they're still around, legendary black metal band. And yeah, you know, this was early for this type of stuff, you know, very interesting that it came out in 91. But yeah, they were early to the game as far as the black metal stuff goes. And I have the blue cover variant. There's a yellow one and a green one out there. This thing apparently got re-released several times, bootlegged all over the place because the band blew up and has a pretty big following once obviously the black metal stuff blew up. So this got bootlegged and re-released and official and unofficial. And if you look up, I mean, there's all kinds of releases out there. Excuse me. But yeah, this is the original genuine article blue cover. And here is the cover. Kind of a weird, creepy, you know, face on there. No band photos or anything that I found. So there's the back cover. So My Angel and Morax. And Hellhammer played drums on this. There's Jan. So he's playing on another recording on here. So yeah, he was all over the place. And there's the 1100. So Putrefaction did the same thing that Pat from Thrash did. About 1100 copies. Again, I don't know how that broke up with the different colored covers, but here is some Arcturus real quick. You go. The cool black metal stuff. Again, like I said, I had the whole discovery. This isn't my favorite thing that Putrefaction put out, but it's cool. And I actually had a couple people offer me a decent amount of money for that fucking thing over the years. Just really? Nah, I'm keeping it. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll part with it. I mean, like I said, I have gotten rid of stuff over the years. It's not an impossibility, but for right now, I kept that, and I'm glad I did. Maybe now that I did the show, I can fucking sell all these things on Discogs for a bunch of money or something. All right. And that is going to be the Infest Records group, the last 3 7-inches. So let's fucking go with that. All right. First up, let's see if I can get that. This is Thin, THIN 001, Wombath, several shapes. And this was a co-release between Infest and Thrash. Like I said, I don't know why Pat did this, but this is a fucking great 7-inch. I know people are familiar with Wombath. I don't know if they ever stopped. They got back together and started up again, but I know they played like Maryland Death Fest at one point. I don't know. I seem to remember that, but they seem to be active again. And let's see. This is a single as well. So it's got an intro and 2 songs, intro, title track, and then a B-side. So Wombath was formed in Sweden in 1990, and this came out in July of 1992. So, yeah, this is a fucking classic. If you like Swedish death metal, they were old school. I know they were from a different region of Sweden as well. I can't recall the country, but the region. They're from Sweden, obviously. Sorry, it's been a long fucking episode. I'm trying to remember all this shit. Here is the cover. Really cool old school art. And then here's the boys. Again, apologize for the picture. That's the picture on the back cover. Kind of a bad photo, but what can you do? And then here is some Wombath. Killer. American style death metal, that fucking drummer too. Holy shit. I just remember listening to that back in the day, like, fuck, man, this guy fucking rips, absolutely rips. So yeah, they got a immolation, Morbid Angelish feel to them. They didn't sound like the other contemporary Swedish death metal bands, obviously, that got known for that style, but fucking killer. They had their own sound, definitely influenced more by the American death metal stuff compared to their fellow countrymen, but fucking really fucking dig this fucking 7-inch. Heavy, fast, ripping, but a little bit technical here and there. Like I said, that fucking drummer was just fucking killing it. Had those Sandoval double bass deals going on there. So that kicked off the Infest Records vinyl stuff, and in a big way, this 7-inch is a fucking classic as far as I'm concerned. So gotta love it, fucking the Mighty Wombath. All right, next up, this is INF003 Psychosis. I know at one point they changed their name to Mass Psychosis, but this was a fucking killer 7-inch. My Private Hell, fucking badass. And this is also a single, I guess, considered, because it's got the title track and it's got the song on side 2. This is it's interesting too, because my copy is actually red vinyl. There was copies out there that were like multicolored, and I don't know, I got the red vinyl. I didn't see any research. When I was doing the research, I didn't see any talk about the red vinyl or whatever. So, that's some of the pictures that I saw was like this weird multicolored vinyl or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know what that was, but my copy ended up being red. So Psychosis was formed in New Jersey in 1988. And this came out in 1991. I didn't have a month, unfortunately. But yeah, this is killer. Very thrashy, Here's the cover. Get a closer look at that. Good thrashy death metal, very aggressive, straddles that line. Obviously, they started in the 80s, so they were still had one foot with the ripping thrash stuff, so to speak. And then here's the guys. It's from the insert. And then check out some of the Psychosis stuff.
I was a child, this is wild. My fantasy, I will obey. Life is mine. All I can see, a memory of the good. Fighting it of the everyone living, good. Wow, I was my pride.
Dual vocals, very cool stuff. I dig this 7-inch. It's definitely different compared to a lot of the stuff in this group, but I really fucking dug it. And they popped up, here and there with stuff. I'll have to look. I think I got a couple more things from them, one of the demos and so. But yeah, I dug this band. Just the way their style was fucking cool. Definitely different than a lot of the other stuff that was out there at the time. All right, well, we have come to the end. Finally, we fucking made it, and it is right around 2 hours. So we did fucking good, everybody. And thank you for fucking sticking around if you're still here. Appreciate it, of course. And we're going to end it with I think that this release is very underrated. I think this band's fucking badass. Fucking Burial. Effigy. Cool. Weird. Looks like Stephen King and Creepshow with the green fucking Jody. The fucking green fucking slime. You can see that. Back. Basic. Killer stuff. One-eyed weirdo. But yeah, I always thought that cover was really cool. Very interesting, you know. Let's see. So Burial from the United Kingdom. They were formed in 1989. This Burial Effigy 7-inch was released in July of 1992. So 2 songs and an intro. And I guess this would be a 7-inch EP. That's not a single. The title track's not on there. They're not pressing that or pumping it. But yeah, let's see. Yep, just a 2-song EP. So it's got an intro as well. But killer stuff. Like I said, very heavy, underrated. I don't know why people don't talk about Burial as much. Again, they probably got lost in the shuffle, similar to Malediction. There's so many fucking legendary killer heavy ass bands in England at the time, you know. And then once the sound started shifting, and the earache bands and the peaceful bands and the, you know, nuclear blast bands all started doing their thing internationally, I guess some of these bands just kind of fell by the wayside, unfortunately. But here's the cool cover I was talking about. Maybe you can see a little bit better without the glare. This is the fucking cool green slime. So this is, just double check. Yeah, basic black vinyl. I wasn't sure if the Infest, if Infest Records, Pat was doing more fancier stuff, but I guess he just got a little fancy with Psychosis. But this is cool. It's got color, you know, on the cover, a little bit different. He started branching out a little bit with his releases. And then there they are. Cold ass, rainy, gray England right there. Definitely looks like some English metalheads hanging out by the ruins and fucking trying to stay warm, I'm sure. Look at that dude in the middle. Looks like he's cold as fuck. Fucking, he forgot his fucking jacket. The other guys are all bundled up. He's like, oh, fuck. This is bullshit. You didn't bring your jacket? Nah, I forgot it. Fuck me. Fucking freezing my balls off. It's like a scared turtle. Anyways, let's check out some Burial. Heavy duty. Yeah, you know, not far removed from that English sound, you know, because a lot of the English bands still held on to that anarcho-punk fucking axe grinder, you know, early demo Napalm Death stuff, just fucking punk as fuck in a sense. Bolt Thrower had that sound on, you know, In Battle There Is No Law, kind of like just that mid-paced fucking driving fucking, you know, Benediction has a lot of that too. So yeah, Burial fucking rules, man. Definitely underrated. This is a fucking killer 7-inch and was a good way to end the show. So I hope everyone dug it. I'm going to do more of these. I don't know if we're going to do something this big because most of the, you know, Seraphic Decay did a lot of stuff. I don't have every single one of those, but I got all the main ones eventually. Because like I said, Steve fucked me over back in the day. But between Wild Rags and Friends and stuff like that, I was able to put the fucking puzzle pieces back together and, you know, score a lot of the essential ones that he did. Because regardless, you know, if he was a ripoff or just a jackass, unorganized, he fucking put out a lot of legendary stuff, just like Pat did here with this stuff. And the Putrefaction guys from Nomad did as well. I didn't get their name or his name or their name, whatever. Sorry. But Putrefaction Records was killer too. Some legendary stuff there. A couple of my favorites. And some good slabs here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Make sure you like the video, comment, let me know what you thought. Hopefully everyone's doing well out there. Everyone's good. And I had a lot of fun making this. It was a lot of work putting this together, but it paid off. It was a blast sharing this stuff with y'all today. So, like I said, if you're still here, I appreciate you. But with that being said, I got to get going and spread this around for me if you would be so kind. If you got some 7-inch junkies from back in the day that are obsessed with some of this stuff like we are, obviously, then share it with them. And maybe even some of these long lost band members and some of these bands that haven't been around for a while, share it with them too. Have them contact me. But again, I appreciate all you fucking crazy motherfuckers, and I hope you have a good one and a better one tomorrow. See you soon, crazy fuckers. Thank you.